And it is now my honor and privilege to introduce three of our state legislators. Three of the best, in my opinion. They have an essential ingredient. Having served a term there, there's not any shortage of intelligence, there's not any shortage of wisdom, there's not any shortage of creativity. There is a shortage of courage. But these ladies are not part of that shortage, and it's my honor to introduce them. First of all, Representative Charlotte Douglas from Alma is in her second term. Come on up, you can stand or bring a chair if you want to. Just put 3 chairs here. That'll be just fine. Charlotte represents District 75, which is portions of Crawford and Sebastian County. She's a retired science teacher. She taught Sunday school for 15 years, and she's also worked with medical missions, providing dental care to third world countries with her husband, Rick, who is a dentist. She has 3 children and 14 grandchildren. Representative Michelle Gray from Melbourne is in her first term, District 62. District 62 includes all of Izard County and parts of Sharp, Independence, and Stone County. Her training, she is an accountant and manages family practice with her husband, Dr. Adam Gray. They have 5 children. And she told, in a committee meeting, the Director of Health and Human Services that their department was incompetent. Senator Linda Collins Smith from Pocahontas. She was first representative, Democrat representative from District 80 from 2011 to 2013. In 2011, she switched parties. She said, I do not leave the Democrat Party. They left me, and I can no longer support such liberal positions. They, of course, went after her and helped get her unelected, but she's back. She is now a senator for District 19. She owns a lodging business with her husband, who is also a judge. Her husband, Phil, has 2 children and 3 grandchildren. As I looked at Ballot PDX, some of the legislation they sponsored, I just want to read a few of these. There's a lot more I could tell you about. But not all of this passed. A lot of it did. But here's some of the legislation these ladies sponsored, and there was a lot of overlap, I noticed. All of them were involved in most of these. Several Second Amendment issues: concealed carry to reduce the fee for concealed carry, allow courthouse employees to carry, allow people at universities to carry, staff, create a lifetime concealed carry permit rather than have to be renewed, and the Castle Doctrine, which I think you all are familiar with. They supported terminating the private option and participation in Medicaid expansion. They voted for local control over whether or not fluoride is in your water. A bill that requires Arkansas citizens to pass a U.S. citizenship and civics test. Created K-12 ag schools, which was kind of a spinoff from a waiver on Act 60, which allows administrative consolidation of small schools for no other reason in many cases except they're small. Voted for a 10 Commandments display on the Capitol grounds. Tried to establish a drug screening test to receive public benefits. Several bills to regulate the abortion industry.
Yes.
The Conscious Protection Act, remedies and penalties for violation of religious freedom. Support liquefied natural gas exports from the U.S. Allow schools to recognize and educate students on traditional winter holidays, we used to call it And an application for a convention of states to propose amendments to reduce the role and scope of the federal government. So let's get started. The theme of our convention today is Liberty Doesn't Matter. And I would like to begin by having each of you kind of tell us what liberty means to you. What's your definition? What do you have to say about liberty to us?
Well, I think that the forefathers really spelled that out more beautifully than I could ever do myself. But just to live unobstructed, I think it's very, very simple. But yet there's a second component to that, and we must respect those around us as we live unobstructed. And I think, that is something that I strive to do in legislation, and an example in my life is to try to live unobstructed and to fight those restraints. So, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
He's one of my favorite people, by the way. I have to tell you that liberty, in a very short note, is freedom. It's freedom from tyranny. It's freedom to do the things that we want to do and to take care of our families the way that we want to. Our freedom comes from God, our liberty. It does not come from the government. It's not our business to impose it.
Somehow I think I may talk the longest, which I did not expect here today with these two ladies, but liberty to me just means free will of the people to do and come as they please and as they see fit, how they want to live their lives. And one of the things that I try and do in the legislature is I always come back to what's arbitrary and what's not. A lot of what the federal government does to us right now, and even at the state level, I consider arbitrary. And they use these arbitrary limits and lines to take away our freedoms one at a time. Yep. And so that's one of the things that I always try to look at. Is it arbitrary or is it not? What's the purpose for what we're doing? So free will and just the ability for us to live without too much government control in our lives. And that's the other thing I think that all three of us always look at when we're doing something is, does this grow government or does it reduce it? We absolutely, I can probably speak for the three of us on this, will not vote for anything or write a bill that grows government in any way.
Okay.
Got in the hot seat.
I want to ask the three of you to respond to this as well. Serving in the legislature, what do you see as the challenges that threaten our liberty today, not only in the state but nationally? And what challenges do you see building up that are going to threaten it further in the future?
Start on the other end this time.
Sure, Michelle, since you're going to talk the most, why don't you go? Okay.
What is going to obstruct our liberty? And, the first thing that comes to my mind is the state government, the legislature. Why is it that we all run on issues of liberty? I won't vote for this. I won't vote for entitlements. But why is it that we get up there and lose our desires that we thought we had while we were on the campaign trail? And that's one thing I think I can develop a plan for. Why is it? And I think it's because candidates need to be asked, what is your price? What is your price? And I asked myself before I got up there, if they come after my husband, what is my price? If they come after my children, what is my price? I had that discussion with all of them before I went up there. And they gave me complete freedom to throw them under the bus.
They were raised right.
So I really think that's something we do not ask candidates. Do you have something in your past, in your life, that you are not willing to lay on the line for a vote? And I think that is where misguided votes occur, is because they did not know what their price would be when they went to Little Rock. And that's where it surprises them when someone comes up with that price and they see it as something they're willing to, miss that vote on. So I see the legislature as our biggest block to freedoms, because that's where the bills come that restrict our freedoms. So that is where we have our biggest problem.
The question was, what do you see as the challenges that threaten our liberty today, and what are the challenges kind of on the horizon that you think may be growing in the future?
Well, it's government, and it comes from the legislature, but it also comes from the executive body. When regulations strangle us to death, and I'll give you an example of yesterday, we almost saw a man's business shut down. No fine, no warnings, no slap on the hand, just from point A to point B with a small group of 4 people could close a man's business because of a regulation. And thank God, I mean that. The man was just, there were 3 businesses all going to go down yesterday. And there were legislators there, myself, Senator Ross, Standridge, Senator Flippo, and we were there hearing the testimony and seeing what was fixing to happen, all because of regulation, because of one word. Will close them down. Will, the word was will. Not you could have any other penalty. So regulation is one of the problems that we have that is strangling our businesses and our freedoms today through our government. Now let's talk about the legislature. When you talk about legislators, about what's next. I look at these legislators and I know who they are. But don't you dare give 1 minute of leniency or hesitation to contact us to make sure that we know about certain bills, that you talk to us so that we toe the line. Not because I just think today I'm going to go out and mess up. It's because you may know something I don't. There might be another legislator not telling me what I need to know, because they want their bill to pass at all costs. And so for me, it's government. And it's in those 2 areas that we also look at liberty and what our Supreme Court's doing to us today. And so it's all 3 branches. And it's critical that we go out and get the right legislators, the right judges. You didn't used to think about that because you always thought that the judges would not be political, that they would uphold the law. I can tell you I'm married to one. And it really sickens us. And it hurts to see when a judge creates law and it's not his job. So I need you all to go out and think, to go into every area. Your governor, your legislators, your judges, they need to hear from you. Don't be afraid when you're on the street. Don't be afraid to call them. Let them know how you feel. And we can make sure that we retain some of those freedoms that we value in this room. We all do.
I'll talk to this a little more broadly. Back to Representative Douglas's point, in my opinion, it all comes down to power and money, and it has for hundreds of years. I see government as a whole. It's not necessarily the government, it's people behind the government that are working that we never hear about, we never see. So as I slowly watch our liberties be taken away one by one, a lot of people say, well, you're crazy, our liberties aren't being taken away, you still have freedom of speech. No, I don't, because if I say one word incorrectly, I stand to lose my business. So it's not like, in a communist nation where you say something that that they don't like, that the government doesn't like, they're going to put you in jail or they're going to cut your hand off or whatever, but you stand to lose everything. Just like we've seen bakers lose their businesses, we've seen Hobby Lobby stand up and do that. So they are taking our liberties away one by one, and we're allowing it to happen. And so as I see our freedom of speech being taken away, freedom of religions being taken away, people are scared to even stand up and say they're Christians. And so, I was actually having a conversation, I'm getting off subject, but I was having a conversation with my son about one of the shootings that happened recently, and he said, you know, all those students said they were Christians even after the first one said it, and he was killed. And he said, I wouldn't say I was a Christian. And I said, then I haven't done my job raising you right. You should have stood up. You should stand up and say what you believe, no matter what the consequences are. And so as I watch these freedoms go, you know, one of the other ones that we're working on right now is healthcare. In my opinion, once you've lost your freedom of speech, you've lost your freedom of religion, then you lose the ability to control your own healthcare. That's it. In my opinion, when the government has total control over your life, they control how much you pay in taxes, how much your business can make through regulation, what you can say, what you can believe, and now how you take care of yourself and your body. We have gone down a path that's so far from what liberty really stands for that, how am I going to try and say this properly? I have a hard time seeing how we can get ourselves out of it, and it's people like you guys that won't give up that gives me hope when I'm in the legislature fighting every day. And I want to say, I want to give up, I can't do this, it's costing my family, it's costing me, my business, but it's people like you that keep us going, realize that maybe we can make a difference. So, I got off subject there, but thank you guys.
Either David or the God voice. How am I doing on time?
Way over.
What? 10 minutes, okay. You know, we focus on the negative sometimes. We need to, but we also need to recognize successes. And my question now is, what things have happened in recent years that have encouraged you in terms of the status of our liberty in the state and in the nation? And how can we build on these successes? You're still there.
Yeah, I'm still, I am encouraged by a lot of the bills that we were able to pass. And I know for myself, I passed a landowner's Bill of Rights. Because we have infringement not only by the state government on our eminent domain and what we can do with our land that we've bought, had in our families for years, our family farms, but the federal government now has a loophole in a federal program that allows them to bring federal eminent domain into the state of Arkansas, and Clean Line Energy is trying to go across Arkansas and get that eminent domain. If we do not stand up to this, then that is going to be irreversible in our state, I believe. So being able to, you know, pass some of these bills like Bill of Rights for landowners, I think gave me encouragement that we could get that through the legislature, and it was not blocked by the municipalities and some of those other entities. Even the heartbeat bill that was pulled back. Do you know that I know stories of women just from that small window of time that was enacted as law, could not have abortion, and those babies, I know some of those babies that were born and are now in families, and those women that could not have those abortions are recovering and they're being mentored. So even though that bill was pulled back, that short time that we were able to have that brought hope and brought life to some individuals. So we need to look at the successes, even though they're tiny, and I believe that was one as well.
What things have recently encouraged you in the terms of the status of our liberties in our state and in our nation, and how can we build on that?
Well, I'm extremely excited about the presidential race. You guys, we have a choice. We have conservative candidates and we have liberal candidates on our side. So we have a great choice. And I look at senators or candidates like Senator Cruz, and I'm going to use him because I look at us, we have a voting record. Senator Cruz has a voting record. He's been rock solid. I like that. We say we want that. We say we want that, though, in our legislators. And that gives me hope, because I pretty much can tell you most of the time how these ladies are going to vote. I have confidence that they're going to vote certain ways or have certain leanings. But I have great hope that we have a chance in this cycle to elect a president that is conservative, that's a Christian, and that's who I want. So I have great hope for our future in the United States. And in Arkansas, I have to say that I look at you today, if you turn around and look at yourselves, you're so serious and excited about what's going on. I know some of you personally knocked on doors. I know some of you personally made phone calls, and you gave till it hurt financially. And you don't give till it hurts this time. You find a candidate, I want you to get them elected. If the person that's in office right now did not keep their word to you, you have every right and should go out and try to find another person to take their place. And that's my personal opinion. There are some things that you can give on, and there are some core things that you can't. And that gives me hope to see you out there knocking those doors, even when there's not a lot of money. We're turning races. We're putting conservatives in office. That gives me great hope for next year's cycle. And I think you're going to see some major changes. If you think we did pretty good this time, wait till the next time when some of you are elected out there. Thank you. That is representative. I have to say that one of the things that I need in liberty is I want the government out of my business to allow me to raise my grandchildren. I've raised my children, our grandchildren, to run our businesses without government interference. And if I don't want to do service with someone, by gosh, I want the right to say no.
Okay, I think we have about 3.5 minutes left, so along those same lines, a lot of what I had hoped, when I ran for office, that, I was gung-ho, I was going to get in, we were going to do all these great things, and then you get there and you hit a roadblock just right away, and you realize, whoa, it's going to take me years to get some of these things implemented. And so one of the things that I even ask you guys, well, we turn into motivators, I think, instead of speakers, but one of the things I ask you guys, we have a large Republican majority right now in the House and in the Senate, it's a trifecta. And what I ask you guys is not to give up on us. I say this, just because we have it's now 63 Republicans in the House, doesn't mean that all 63 of them feel the same way we do. And it's going to take us a few cycles to get that there. So I ask you not to give up and help us get people elected that are more conservative. So a lot of times, even when there is no hope or you don't see anything great on the horizon, you have to go out and create it. You just can't give up. So that's one of the biggest things that I face in the legislature is just wanting to give up. But, we got the religious freedom bill passed this last time, and which is good, it's a good thing, but we shouldn't have had to have done that. There was no need for that bill. And and Linda, we also had some pro-gun legislation that got through. Hers was allowed for courthouses, and mine allowed concealed carry on public, so it's school parking lots and roadways. We shouldn't have to do that.
And that was for the military.
See, I didn't remember that. Good. Yes, so we all got some of those through, but we get so frustrated because we're spinning our wheels creating legislation that we don't even need based on our Constitution. So I guess that's the good things I see happening is maybe the state and the legislature and the people locally deciding enough's enough and starting to fight back and creating our own way of doing things.
Finish with what I started. The essential ingredient is courage. Look in the dictionary, and their pictures are all there.